Thank you. Okay, apologies for the break and delayed proceedings. We will continue with questions. I think that's where we were before the break. Councillor Vernon-Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. And it may be through you to the applicant. My understanding is what he said in his deputation is bedroom, I think it's 1, but it's so small I can't see, is going to be rejigged and made a bit bigger. Is that right? Because if it is, then somewhere else has to become a bit smaller. And as both bedroom 2 and the communal areas are at the absolute minimum already, then I don't understand where the extra space is unless they're going to become smaller.
Well,
Question.
we don't normally have those.
Okay, well, in which case...
It was bedroom 6.
We don't.
And bedroom
wait a
5.
minute.
Okay.
We don't. That's not how we do things.
Okay, can I ask Ian if his understanding is if there's a change to bedroom 1 and it gets bigger, where the space comes from?
I believe from the deputation the comments were about the rooms in the roof space, which are bedrooms 6 and 7. Both bedrooms 6 and 7 are, of course, the larger of the bedrooms, 11.56 and 10.39. And I believe the postulation was that the largest one would be made slightly smaller and the slightly smaller one would be made slightly bigger. Obviously, that would start to be a departure from the approved plans at some point, again, within normal building tolerances and common sense, but not something that would certainly concern me, as both rooms are well over the 10 metres if one wishes to go for those spaces, and making a normalisation between them would be perfectly reasonable.
Okay. Councillor Smythe.
Further question on that subject, which I had thought of before, of just looking at the plans. There's no, we're only measuring the habitable space in that top room. Is there any, do either of those rooms benefit from extra space under the eaves? It just wasn't quite clear from this plan.
Certainly. So bedroom 6, which is the one on the bottom of the plan, that is in a dormer window, so that's a full height room. Bedroom 7, the one at the front of the property, which would have eaves, you can see some reduction there. The eaves height is dropping from a central flat point, illustrated by those dotted lines running in parallel. The entire room size is over the minimum height, and this illustrates that rather than allowing the eaves to run all the way down to floor level, they're proposing an internal wall that blocks off that eave space. So the room is slightly truncated in its issue either side, but the size demonstrated is all with above the necessary minimum head height.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions, members? Comments? Oh, question?
Yes, Chair. I wonder whether in the applicant's deputation they were saying that there is an arrangement in place for residents to pick up on problems quickly through, I guess, through a number or something. I wonder whether that can be established, because I do have a note from a nearby resident about damage to a chimney and cracks in a party wall, and it would be really good if what the applicant mentioned about this setup they have for the residents locally to get in contact with them to sort out these sort of problems, that could be established, and so it could be sorted in that way.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
if I can assist for that. Again, this is that licensing planning area. So out with your consideration today, largely obviously the applicant is here, will have heard that, and I'm sure would have taken that on board. But there is in the new licensing conditions that went through Cabinet 2 weeks ago, a requirement to set up just such a process. So that residents have a named contact detail that they can contact, and that information must be shared with neighbours as part of the new licensing regime that's been put forward as to normalise both the additional and mandatory licensing areas. So that sort of purpose and management issues are outside of planning. They're dealt with by private sector housing, but is being well dealt with in the new licensing regime that is coming forward.
I'm sure that will feed its way back. So. the applicant. Okay. Councillor Hunt.
Comment? Green comment? Clear? Okay. So look, yeah, just now I did say I support the application. So yeah, again, I'm going to support this application because, and I don't think we should nitpick about the bath. In my own home, 2 like a bath, 2 like showers. So we've got 1 bathroom, 1 shower and 1 bathroom shower. So we said, leave it alone. There's no real purpose picking over that, in my opinion. And certainly not a reason to turn this down. And I'm hugely aware, been hugely aware for the last 18 months, 2 years, how many of the smaller, dare I say, crummy HMOs have been going back to family homes. We see that. We see there's for sale signs up. You see it on the right moves and all that sort of stuff. So we are very well aware of that. And the overall impact, we heard just now about some of the licensing stuff that's coming along, always improving management around HMOs. And I always look forward to hearing Mr. Hill because of his enthusiasm for his work. And it is completely true, we have been driving up the standards of good, dare I say, quality HMOs. And that's what we want to see more of if we have to have shared accommodation for the reasons I described earlier on, the reasons and that Mr. Hill described too, the skyrocketing rents are eye-watering and almost unbelievable how young people nowadays manage to get anywhere to live outside of their own parents' home. I have absolutely no idea because a third or half of their wages are going in paying for accommodation. It is absolutely criminal, really. And they've no hope of getting onto the property ladder, which is an ambition for a lot of people. So in this case, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation for all the reasons described in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Vernon-Jackson.
Thank you. I'm sorry I take a different view. I think our rules are clear and that once you start deviating from them, then that's where the problems come. If things are compliant with our rules, then they're okay. This one isn't. I would be happy to approve it and take the offer from the developer to change the bathroom into a shower room because then it would be compliant. And if it's compliant, I'm happy for it to happen. If it's not compliant, I'm not happy for it to happen. All these rooms are at the very lowest level that there's almost no wiggle room. The developer is an experienced developer and has jiggled the rooms to make it as small as is humanly possible in almost every case. And therefore, I'm sorry, the room for us to be flexible, it does not exist in this case, in my view. So I would be happy to support it if there is a condition that the bathroom is a shower room and is therefore compliant with our rules. But if not, I would not support breaking our rules.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Smith.
I would second Lee Hunt's proposal.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Anybody else wish to comment on Councillor Vernon-Jackson's idea of adding a condition? No? Okay. Councillor Smythe.
Do we have cycle storage?
I do not believe it's yet been done. There's a condition to require it on the recommendation.
Yeah, we need to put a condition on cycle storage on the recommendation.
I think it's number 3, isn't it? Sorry, it's there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Condition 3. Page 60.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Judith, if I ask you to pop your microphone off. Thank you. Councillor Vallely.
While I understand the rule thing, actually having a bath in a house is a really good thing if you're a woman. You know, and there are so many showers, just let them have a bath as well.
I agree.
Environmentally, very much more use of water, huge use of extra energy. If we're trying to be green, then we'll have more showers and fewer baths.
Okay. Well, we have a proposal put forward, Councillor Hunt and Councillor Smith. Anything else? Anybody else would like to add anything before we move to a vote? I think we're just about there. Okay, those in favour of the motion to approve planning permission with the conditions attached, raise your arm, please. Okay, against? Abstentions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I beg, sorry.
The motion was passed 7 votes to 2, so that's the officer's recommendation of conditions, not the additional one sought by Councillor Vernon Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, I did mention earlier, at this time of the day, I have to go and do my care duties, so I hope you'll all excuse me.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Okay. Stubbington Avenue.
Thank you. 78 Stubbington Avenue. This is the last on today's agenda that is a 6 to 7 bed change of use. I will just quickly note in the SMAT, just a typo on the table. We've listed 2 ensuite bedroom 6s. Obviously, it's ensuite bedroom 6 and ensuite bedroom 7. An area relatively low HMO mix, as you can see from this illustration, just one other, and relatively low density. So again, a larger and slight unusual layout for property compared to those that we see perhaps further south in the city. The floor plans and details of the room sizes are all contained on page 63. All the room sizes are over 10 square metres, some 13 and a half, and a 23 square metre combined living space. Means it's fully compliant with all of your relevant policies and is recommended subject to the is recommended unconditionally as plan permission is not deemed to be required to change what is the study room here, top left of this room, to a lounge. From study room to a bedroom number 7, and therefore it is officer's opinion that plan permission is not required. Members will have to turn their minds to that before judging any merits.
Thank you, Ian. So members, do we believe this application requires planning permission? Councillor Vernon Jackson.
It's absolutely clear that it needs planning permission because this is a highly developed area with lots of pressure, and this will add to it both in terms of the rubbish, noise, and social behaviour, water, parking, and it is clearly development, and therefore clearly needs planning permission.
Okay, members, do we agree with that position? Those in favour? Okay.
So unanimous 8 votes in light of Councillor Hunt leaving after the last item.
Thank you, Kieran. Okay. Do we have a seconder? Oh, we've got a deputation. Mr. Brewer, over to you. 6 minutes to give your deputation.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try not to take up the whole 6 minutes because I think Simon took up 3 of my 6. And in all fairness, I think Simon and Carrie-Anne today have very much gone through every point of a HMO. There's a couple of things I'd like to add to this application. You'll be pleased to know that we have rear access to the property for the bins, for the cycle store, so we don't have these awkward pinch points, as obviously is what's been discussed today. And actually, as the managing agent of this property, we manage over 200 HMO rooms in Portsmouth. This has been very popular, and I think one thing that's come to light today is the type of people that are living in this property. And one thing we do know is over 70% of our tenants travel 100 miles or more to take a job in this city. And I think that is key. You know, whilst we are also housing young professionals who live in the city, we are very much housing professionals who are coming to this city to take new jobs in this city, which can only benefit this city and the local economy. And what we find is that these local tenants and these tenants who obviously come here for work want to have a room with an ensuite and a shared house because they do not want to be living in one-bedroom flats. That is freeing up one-bedroom flat stock in Portsmouth, and I think that is vital to good quality HMOs in this city, and we are seeing very good quality HMOs in this city. For those of you who know, I started my ProPod business in 2017, and we were one of the first to create top-end co-living properties, and that has carried on the theme through other developers, which I'm pleased to see. So this is a great house, good facilities, great access at the rear for cycles, and I hope the committee recommend this for approval.
Thank you. Members, questions? Councillor Smythe.
Should we there have a condition about cycle parking on this one? If we wanted to approve it.
You certainly can. I'm unable to see from the photographs whether the cycle provision has yet been provided. A condition would therefore be a precautionary necessary. Obviously, if it's already there, it'll be easy to discharge.
Thank you very much.
Comments? Councillor Vernon-Jackson.
Chair, this falls within the policy set down by this council and committee. Therefore, I'm happy to propose that we accept this and give planning permission for it.
Anybody else? Councillor Vallely is seconding.
And to confirm, Chairman, that will be with a time limit condition, approved plans condition, cycle storage condition, and necessary steps and conditions to mitigate impacts on the SPA.
Okay, members. Anything else? Okay. Those in favour of granting planning permission with the conditions that you've just heard about, please raise your hand. Against? Abstentions? Thank you, members.
That was 7 votes in favour, none against, 1 abstention. So planning permission is granted, subject to the conditions listed.
Thank you, Kieran. Down End Road.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a non-HMO item added on with the Chairman's permission. It's only here because it's an officer of the Council who's made the application and there is some urgency to get it consented. It's very straightforward. It's a porch extension. The red box is the porch extension. There's some images for it. No representations, no objections, no concerns or contrary to policy. Happy to make a recommendation with the conditions in the report.
Members? Questions? Councillor Candlish?
No, I was prepared to propose to accept.
Okay, thank you. I'll second. Is there anything else? Okay, those in favour of moving the officer's recommendations?
And that's been granted unanimous planning permission.
Thank you, Kieran. Members, you may want to take a couple of moments to... Do you want to introduce it first? Okay. Just, have you read the SMAT? There's quite a long entry in the SMAT for the last item, but I think, Ian, you want to present?
Yes, I'll give you the very high-level presentation and then probably give you a few minutes to read the SMAT. So this is a one that requires planning permission and change of use from C3 to a 7-person HMO. I say that intentionally rather than 7-bedroom. It is the applicant's intent or was the applicant's intent to convert, as you can see here on the far right, a rear non-habitable room in the front, in the dormer window, where that circle is appearing, into a 7th bedroom. Also, that's already shown to be a bedroom in a previous consent area, but they're looking to convert a ground floor room into a additional bedroom and to make it a 7-bedroom property rather than a 6-bedroom property. However, That dormer window is not currently lawful. They put in a clear glass window. The enforcement team are working with them, and they are confirming they're going to be changing that for obscurely glazed window, which would then bring it under permitted development control. You can have side-facing windows in a dormer window as long as they are obscurely glazed. But that would mean that bedroom would have no outlook and therefore would not be fit to be a bedroom. So you would have 7 rooms, all annotated on this drawing as bedrooms, but only 6 of them would be fit to be a bedroom. Why, therefore, are we looking at an application for a change to 7 occupants, you ask? Well, 2 of the bedrooms are very large and more than capable of being double bedrooms. So it's perfectly reasonable for the applicant to seek 7 occupants. They would do that with 5 one-bed bedrooms and 1 two-bed bedroom, where there's 2 options there, as laid out in the SMAT, that would be able of taking that degree of occupancy. So this goes to one of the many reasons why officers are often concluding that 6 to 7 doesn't require a change of use, because all you need to do is have another person in the bed, let alone the bedroom. So consequently, in this case, we are willing to continue to recommend it for the grant, clarifying that with the change of the description as laid out in the SMAT, that it is to a 7-person HMO, and we've taken that further with a lengthy SMAT note to explain what I've just run through very quickly, and additional conditions to ensure that the works that the enforcement team are going to be doing anyway, which is to sort out the obscure glazing and also get rid of a couple of balcony accesses that have gone in without permission by putting some Juliet balustrades across 2 rear doors, and then consequently it would be open to the appellant to occupy a 7-person HMO as they chose, and obviously private sector housing would then be coming along licensing that HMO accordingly, and they may well take prescriptive details on which of the rooms should be used by however many occupants, which is the degree of management that they can do and you cannot as a planning committee. So we are satisfied that planning permission should be granted for a 7-person HMO, a change of use from this C3 dwelling. There are some enforcement works to do which will occur irrespective of what decision you make today, but would also be securable through planning condition, just for clarity really, that I've proposed as additional conditions on here, and the consequent outcome will be a recommendation to grant planning permission subject to the conditions laid out on page 8 of the supplementary papers and the 2 additional conditions. There's also a slight drawing error which an additional informative is proposed for because they've got an inconsistency between their elevations and floor plans, which we can tidy up on the basis that it's actually partly that work has already been done and therefore we're able to inspect it. Apologise, this is coming quite late, but the case obviously is a follow-up visit because work is ongoing at the site. Follow-up visit on Friday, and noted that that dormer window had gone in with a clearly glazed side window, which obviously has led to this amendment to the report. But as I say, no fundamental changes to the recommendation, which is to grant plan permission, but with 2 additional, somewhat belt and braces planning conditions. Happy to answer any questions, and obviously you may take some time to read through the SMAT if that would be of assistance.
Okay, well, some members are still reading, but we'll take a question. Gerald?
Ian, so the 2 rooms that you think are big enough to take 2 people are the ones that are 11, not 10 square metres, is that correct?
So 11 is your adopted size for double occupancy.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. And so with clear glass, it breaks the rules. With obscure glass, you can't use it as a bedroom, but they're going to. How do you stop them? Do you get them to nail up the door?
I don't stop them. That will be your private sector housing team. The private sector housing licence for an HMO often, in fact, the standard condition prescribes if there are any rooms that cannot be used as bedrooms, and they can obviously enforce that in the normal way. Clearly, how the applicant chooses to let this space is down to them. One of the larger bedrooms is the other room up on that first floor. You could let both rooms to a couple, so they had exclusive rights of access to that non-habitable room, which they could use as a study or sitting room, as well as the bedroom that is their habitable room, and that might be a way to manage that structure. Or they could hold it as a cinema room or similar, which obviously doesn't need the same sort of outlook as the communal benefits. That degree of management is what the private sector housing team does, not what the planning service does.
Okay, and going back to the plan, that was very helpfully on before. The non-habitable room, how are you meant to get past the bed?
It's a very narrow room, so
It
yeah,
is.
that was, as I say, it wasn't great to start with, but as I say, as we would be anticipating, that's not a room that you could habitably use because it has no outlook. That matter is resolved. We're not suggesting that would be a seventh bedroom. That is the applicant's contention in what is a pretty poorly put together scheme.
But if Ian, they hadn't got the issue about the glass, and it's such a narrow room, what would we have said in terms of the usage, and could they have got a bed in there and be able to get past it, or would we have said that this is just that the layout just doesn't work?
So they have proposed to use this as and they have planned provision as a 6-bed HMO. So they had intended to use this as a bedroom, albeit they may have orientated the bed or had a smaller bed accordingly. That was clearly their intention. It is the ground floor, which is actually a utility room at the moment, which is changing into a bedroom. That's the change in occupancy. But as I say, because how you use the internal space isn't really a major concern for us. There was plenty of rooms to make a 6-bed. It was granted accordingly. There is plenty of space, not enough rooms, to make a 7-person, but not a 7-bed HMO under this scheme. So yes, I think one would certainly wish to question the practicality of that space as a bedroom if that was the sole purpose of the application before you. It is not. The applicant has applied for 7 persons.
And I'm sorry to keep looking at the plan for the floor below. It looks as if it's quite easy to get a bed, to get past the bed in that one, and yet it would appear that the width of the width is the same as the floor above, where it's very difficult.
No, the width is notably smaller. The floor above is a dormer window,
Okay.
so it's set in at least 20 centimetres off the eaves and thus
All right.
similar amount inside.
Thank you.
Carrying on in similar vein, I mean, it seems to me that that bed could be turned around and put with the bed head against the stairs in that case, if people were going to sleep in there. The second thing is, how would this be enforced? And the third
By the
thing
private
is,
sector housing team.
yeah, and the third thing is, would there be any fresh air at all going into this, or is it all fixed glazing? In which case, I'm not sure you're allowed under building regulations to have no fresh air coming somehow into a bathroom.
The condition is laid in the SMAT that we expect our window to change to match that of permitted development is that anything below 1.7 metres above internal floor level must be obscurely glazed and fixed shut. So the fan light at the top, which is traditionally above 1.7 metres, can be both clearly glazed and, of course, can open to allow ventilation.
Be clear that there would be ventilation going into that space through the bathroom?
Well, you could have it through the bathroom as well, but a fan light on the obscurely glazed window would also be open, and that would be permissible under the condition. The building regulation requirements for ventilation obviously would be dealt with by building regulations.
Do we have to have any conditions on that? I mean, you wouldn't want any space not to have some ventilation, let alone one with a loo and a shower in it.
No, because it's covered by building regulations, we wouldn't be imposing a condition requiring ventilation when they have shown a window.
Thank you.
Members' comments. Slightly unusual one.
Yeah, I don't trust them not to use it, but that's not what we are here to do. But I think a note to the private sector housing team to say we have a concern about this would be a useful thing to do. But if our rules say that at 11 metres you can get 2 people in, then that's what the rules are, and that means that we can get 7 people into this, and therefore I'm okay to propose the recommendation that he gets planning permission.
I'm really concerned about this because we have quite a lot of HMOs which have rooms that are capable of housing 2 people, and we have consistently set limits on the number of people who could be resident in the house. I accept that this is something of an exception, although that could be a pretty airless and not very light place to be. I think I would be minded to recommend that we refuse it on those grounds, because I don't want to create a precedent, which is to do with every room over 11 metres can take 2 people, because alternatively I would want a condition that specified no more than 7 people, which we haven't been doing on today's applications because it's been mentioned in the title. But I think there's a grave danger here of ending up with 8 people or more people. So I would like to recommend that we refuse it. It's not adequate to have a room that is capable of being slept in that is airless.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may, any such refusal would have no chance on appeal, if not no other reason that while we would not recommend it, you can impose a condition. You have done in the past, and occasionally inspectors do, limit it to 7. And as Councillor Smythe has just said on record, either refuse or impose that condition. Well, that's what conditions are there for, to prevent the need to refuse something. So I would be inviting Councillor Smythe to change her motion to grant with a condition for 7 persons.
Thank you for that. I clearly should have phrased it as a question. I mean, in the circumstances, I would be okay with that, and leave it to licensing to prevent that from becoming a bedroom. I think it'd be better if we could refer to the top room as the one, so that they can be used as a pair of rooms for a pair of people, albeit sleeping in the front part of it. Can I advise then that we put a condition on of limiting the property to 7 persons?
And Councillor Van Jackson, are you...
Which was my suggestion.
Ian, are you proposing to impose that condition notwithstanding that we're amending the description to provide only 7 persons may occupy?
Yes, it do. If it satisfies members, as I said many times before, we do not feel it's necessary to impose such restrictions because private sector housing does that function as well. But there is certainly a grey area. We have seen inspectors impose occupancy conditions, and if it does give members reassurance rather than a refusal, which will say I can guarantee we won't win on that ground because we know the condition does the same job, I would be recommending a condition abnormally to resolve what is a poorly put together and thus abnormal application.
So, Gerald, you're happy with that? Yep, okay. Okay, that's the motion in front of us, unless anybody's got anything else. Those in favour of granting planning permission with the condition that we've just been discussing, and then the others that are in the report, please raise your hand. Favour, those against? Abstentions? Okay.
That was 6 votes in favour, none against, and 2 abstentions. So planning permission is granted.
Okay, thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. Thank you all for your attendance, contributions, and I'm closing the meeting at 13:19.